Let's go! Not over.
Hey, everybody. It's another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. With me, as always, my good friend, Johnny C., creator of Surrounded by Death. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
What's going on, man? We had a nice little bye week.
I know,
week.
dude.
That was sorely needed.
I didn't know what to do with myself last Wednesday.
Oh, I did. I played catch up big time, dude. I had shit I had to write. I had campaign fulfillment duties still that I'm in the midst of. Like, I needed all of that time last week, and I'm so glad to have it. But I did miss everybody tuning in, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of glad we're back on the bi-weekly schedule because having next Wednesday off is going to be huge because both me and you are going to be at San Diego Special Edition, which is, we were just talking about a little bit backstage about our anxieties of the flights and everything. But I'm super excited for it, and I think it's for me. You fly all the time, which is good. I think the last time I've been on a plane was 4 or 5 years ago for Heroes Con, and that was just to North Carolina. And, it's like going across the country is a whole other. Kit and caboodle,
Yeah, I've done that plane ride before. I'm not usually fond of it, but it's usually not so bad on JetBlue.
Okay.
Because it's direct, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're doing a direct. Yeah, I'm doing
a direct.
I think we have an hour layover both ways. I should have done. Yeah. Does that cost more to go JetBlue with? I know it's probably boring everybody to hell, but
No. This is actually good to know. I mean, if you want to start traveling to exhibit, it's good to
know these little insider stuff.
Yeah, to get across the country for me this time around was like $4. It was like 400 something. But I also had travel credit from previous years that I had banked up. So I was able to use that, which wasn't so bad. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. And that's round trip?
That was round trip. Yeah,
that's not bad actually.
It's not bad
actually
at all.
Pretty good.
And
I think
JetBlue is a hub in San
paid...
Diego, so that's why you get direct flights.
Gotcha. We paid a little less than that. I think like $250. I don't know. I'd have to look back, but I think we paid a little less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's one thing I'm worried about with the layover too. I was just telling you, like, my biggest anxiety is the luggage thing. But we were looking at statistics on lost luggage, and it's very small. Thank God.
Yeah.
They said out of every 1,000 suitcases lost, or every 1,000 suitcases shipped, maybe 2 get lost. And I know in my head, the Gleason family is the 2 luggage that's going to go missing.
So you have to think that usually lost luggage is contingent on flights getting rearranged, right?
Yeah.
That's when things really get messed up. And it's happened to me. There's been times where my luggage has arrived to Boston and I arrived 12 hours later. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Like
okay.
That. Oh, yeah. I've had all sorts of wacky shit happen to me when I'm traveling.
Interesting.
Chicago is one of the weirdest. Chicago and Denver, 2 of the weirdest airports to ever walk through.
I don't think we're laying over there, thank God, on either of those. I forget
Not
where the
weird in a bad way, just like architecture
shit happens, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But flights aside, I'm excited to be at San Diego. Like, I haven't been there since 2008. We had a tape in 2008, but at the time I wasn't pushing comic books. I was pushing our DVDs for Hero Envy, and it was just me and John. And I had a hell of a time, though. I gotta admit, like, it wasn't too crazy at Comic-Cons yet. And I imagine it's just a million times crazier.
I suspect this year is going to be like that year that you fondly remember, because a lot of the bigger things aren't going to be there. I was looking at the floor map last night.
Yeah,
I'm in L6 of small press. I think you're somewhere in the M's, right?
N something, N6, I think, or something.
Yeah. And there's a lot of open spaces still. They're still accepting applications, and it's next week. So I'll be curious to see what the floor actually looks like all said and done.
Yeah, so it might end up being like New York was, huh? This past good thing for me, I've never exhibited there, so like anybody coming to see us will be like the first time,
Right.
So right. That's great. So, all right, we have a guest tonight too, and before we get into that, maybe we can talk to him about conventions too. And
absolutely.
But first, I want to share. Always got to share the Alterna love here. So I got to share the campaign real quick. Johnny, 20. We're closing in on 30 grand.
Wild,
how crazy. How
wild.
Crazy.
Forget Diamond. Forget the conventional distribution methods.
Dude, this is the way, right?
Where it's at.
Just to quote the Mandalorian, this is the way.
This is the way.
I'm the real thing is I'm real curious to see what the next campaign is going to be like. Going forward, because if it follows traditional crowdfunding patterns, the next campaign will be even bigger, which is amazing. And like you said, no diamond, so we cut out the middleman. So this is like more money going into the creators' pockets. More
straight up.
The book's going to real people, not sitting on a shelf at a comic store somewhere. So that is just amazing. So if you guys have it, the books, Pete just tweeted the other day, the books are at the printers. So these are this is going to start fulfilling literally in like 2 or 3 weeks. So there's still time to get in on it and get your first 2 trading cards, because that's the other thing. Every campaign is going to have a new trading card, so you can start your whole collection here. So that's huge. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see people getting their new books, So just wanted to push that real quick. We're so close to 30K, which is amazing. So definitely, check that out if you haven't backed it yet or haven't looked at it yet. So, all right, let me remove that off of our show. So I don't know if I've met this guest. Was he on one of our shows before, or was I on a broadcast with him? I read so many people, it's hard for me to keep things straight, sometimes.
Yeah, so you guys may have met through like the Ambien networking Zoom call or something like that. I know
I was on a few of those
Sebastian.
With you. Yeah. And is it Jorge or George? Or is it both?
It's George.
It's George. Okay.
So I've actually heard it both ways. So I don't know.
Okay.
Let's bring him in and have him clarify the waters.
Yeah, definitely. Without further ado, tonight's guest, Jorge or George? Medina, what's up? So which one is it? Is it Jorge or George, guys? Or is it both?
I go by George.
George,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay,
George.
perfect.
Yeah. It's just easier for everybody.
Both ways on panels, so maybe people have just been mistaken, right?
Yeah. That's all good.
The interesting thing is my first artist, my first comic book artist is Jorge.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's like I hear both, so you never know. Like, so
either way,
just straight out ask,
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I heard you guys talking backstage. So I Johnny, I know you've been, again, you said the Ambient guys, like with Sebastian and them. I definitely was on a panel, I think, with you. You were like a moderator maybe earlier this year. And
that was when I had the two panels. I was at a convention doing a panel for another convention. It was like Inception.
Yes. yes. And Keith, I saw you in an interview with Michael Gracia not too long ago.
Yeah.
You were on there with him. But I didn't know that you guys did the show together. So that was kind of like, it was, yeah.
Yeah, it's like merging it two, like, I see this guy somewhere and this guy somewhere else.
And then I see you post up Sartana Comics. I'm like, mind blown. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait, what's going on? But yeah. That's awesome. That's how that all works.
Well, thanks for joining us, man.
Man, thanks for taking the time, especially out of your busy schedule. This is your third interview in a row, right?
Yeah. Johnny was telling me this is the third interview you jumped on. That's crazy.
So Sam and I, we have a podcast also called Catch the Craze.
Yeah.
And so we had two podcasts back to back today. We were just doing interviews because we interviewed like indie creators who and a couple of the guys have like Kickstarters. So we we'll throw them on and say, hey, just talk about your stuff, and see if you can get some pledges while you're on the air. So we do that. And so I had those two, and then I was telling you guys, I'm like, damn, where's this link? The link was in the email you guys sent me like a month ago, and I'm like, oh, you dummy, get in there. So I came over.
Well, George, I could tell you're a podcaster because the sound is absolutely perfect.
Crystal clear,
perfect mic.
Yes. So it's good that I just made it, because if I had to do like a sound test or all that stuff, it would have been a mess.
Yeah, forget it.
It would have been a mess.
Definitely. So since you're your first time being on our show and everything, the one question, we always, because you're a creator as well as a podcaster, correct? Kind of like me and Johnny now, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the first things we always ask as a creator, like, was there a specific, like, comic, TV show or movie that you grew up with that, like, kind of put you on this path to becoming a creator, like wanted to be part of the comic industry? Is there something that you could point to that kind of set you on that path? Or
I was born in Ecuador originally.
Okay.
And I grew up around like aunts who were teachers. They were art teachers, some of them. And so that was always there. But I used to watch a lot of, obviously as a little kid, a lot of cartoons.
Okay.
And when I came to the States, back in the 80s, one of the cartoons that really like stuck to me, a lot of it was, Hanna-Barbera cartoons and like, like the Warner Brothers, obviously Bugs Bunny, the classic stuff. Yeah. But Disney really did it for me. Like it was like the Disney afternoon of the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, so like you're talking like
DuckTales, the Gummy Bears,
Darkwing
Duck, Tailspin, all those shows really kind of like, I was like, wait a minute. But I never wanted to create, I never wanted to draw those characters. I wanted to create my own characters and have like my own things going on. So while those really influenced me and kind of took me, like you said, down this path of creating characters, I always wanted to create just my own characters at that point.
That's awesome. Because usually, like, it's funny because usually, like, it's the other way. Like a lot of creators are influenced by something they watch or read, and they want to be part of that. Like, like when I was first discovered comics, like I was like, oh, I love Spider-Man. Like I always wanted, like, coming up with my own Spider-Man stories, and like maybe one day work for Marvel. And I didn't come to your way of thinking until late, like even up to like 5 years ago, I was still had dreams of being with the big two. And you know, I now over the years I find that indie is the way to go, and like I kind of don't have the desire anymore to be part of Marvel or DC, you know. So
it's crazy,
isn't it? Yeah, it is. So it's interesting that you had that right out of the gate, you know.
There's a certain gratification in self-publishing your own work and not being under like the umbrella of something else. You know what I mean? So that's something that definitely, and I think my early creative spirit was one that wanted to write the sequels to things or like to play in the other sandbox, and I think my more mature creative spirit is the one that wants to create my own. You know, that's probably kind of, to paraphrase your same experience.
I think that at this point, right, once you start creating your own books and doing your own thing, going to work or maybe even working for any of the big twos, I relate that to almost like moving out of your parents' house and then having to come back to the house where you have to follow rules, where you're so used to being on your own and doing your own thing, and now you're going back to your parents' house. It's like, nope, you can't, come here after a certain hour. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? I was just doing my own thing over here.
That's a great comparison.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like I'm thinking like I'm just gonna walk in and I'm gonna be writing like the multi-part Spider-Man storyline where it's like
Keith is gonna kick the door down and kill off any character he wants.
Yeah, right. No, and the editor is gonna just slap you down like, no, this is what you're writing. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, that's definitely a great comparison. Yeah. You're right, because when you're indie, you kind of do
sky's the limit.
Whatever you want. Yeah. You can make a superhero comic, you can make a horror comic, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Make a superhero horror comic.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing you don't have is the security of making of it selling, right? Like that you have when you're at home. Like at home, everything's getting taken care of. You don't have to worry about it.
That's a great,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
You also need to be very self-disciplined, though. It's nice to have a publisher to be like, your deadline is this. You need to get it done, and then you got that like last week where you cram everything and you shine like a bright star, you know what I mean? But then when you're doing it on your own, you got to be like disciplined enough to be like, yo, you got to buckle down. Because people count on you,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. That's a great comparison. Like I never thought of it that way, but 100% right. Yeah. Because like when you move out, there's no safety net, and it's like
it's on you, man.
Yeah, you're out there. And I think the greatest thing about indie comics and the hardest thing about indie comics is getting somebody to try it, but if you have the passion, I mean, all three of us here have done it, like going to shows and, hey, check out my book. And, you try to get that one person that might take a chance on it to actually pick it up. And that's a huge thing, too, if you think about it,
absolutely.
too. Like someone giving you their hard-earned money, taking a chance on your
taking
book,
a chance, right? Yeah.
So that's huge, too, So, that's the other thing. And meeting creators like yourself, like just by doing the show, and I'm sure on your show, too, you meet like so many people from different walks of life and have unique voices in comics, I think. And then it's awesome. I love it. I love the whole community aspect.
Yeah, and what the internet has done is it's shrunk. The world has become so small. So like we'll talk to people in Australia. We talked to a guy from Taiwan today. Like, it's 8 o'clock in Taiwan right now, and he's doing his interview. And I'm like, holy shit! But he's got his own idea. He's got his own, book that he's putting out, and all the different perspectives that we all have as individuals. And it's like, but the one thing that unites us is that we're all creative minds that want to tell our own stories. That's
definitely.
That's kind of like what makes us, a family in a sense. Like I know what you're going through. You guys were talking about San Diego and flying out there, and man, I hope my luggage gets there. You know what I mean? Like we don't worry about that stuff. It's just the norm. Aside of all the stuff like creating different stories, that's what we all have those fears. Like, man, I hope my stuff gets there. You know what I mean? God forbid you ship your books.
It's all part of the fears of the hustle.
Right. Yeah, it's the hustle. Exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it doesn't show up, I guess I'll just have fun at the con.
That's all you can do, Keith.
Right. Put all my shit at the table that's empty. But I don't even know.
I gotta make some scratch that weekend. I'm telling you, because that's an expensive trip.
Yeah, dude, it seriously is. It's one of those ones you save up just to lose money at. Do you do a lot of cons there, George?
Yeah, you exhibit.
We've done. I mean, I've done a lot. Yeah, like so. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing this since like maybe 2000 and I want to say 2003, 2004.
Oh wow! So even a little before me, because I started on this road professionally trying to make comics probably around 2008.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, wow,
And,
you've been around that. Wow,
yeah,
that's great. Yeah, well, definitely want to pick your brain on that too.
yeah, and things, obviously conventions, I think that the thing remains the same is we're all trying to hustle our stuff and trying to convince people to buy our books and trying to stand out in a sea of all of these talented artists is one of the hardest things, right? Because
Oh yeah.
you have to make sure that your table looks a certain way so that it attracts people to your table. You know what I mean? You can't just sit down behind a table and just draw all day because there are people that are passing by. You got to be like, hey, I'm here.
Right.
I'm here
Almost in a lot of
being
ways, and I
pushy.
hate. Yeah, exactly.
You got to sell yourself as much as your work.
Yes.
And there's such a balance to it too, because like we know guys that are like Johnny knows who I'm talking about here, that accost, like basically accost the fans, but like all in their face like a used car salesman. But then there's the other people that are too laid back,
True.
I always find that for me, talking to fans, it's more just talking. Like, it's almost like you sell yourself in a lot of ways just by talking to somebody. Because I know people have stopped by the table, not even interested in my book, and they're just looking around and, hey man, how's the show going for you? That kind of thing. And
that's it.
Sometimes you just have a 5-minute conversation with somebody.
That's it.
And then they look around and they're like, hey, tell me about your book. And then they buy it because they like it.
That's the best kind of sale because you converted them, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't
like
somebody that wasn't even
it wasn't
looking
like shooting
for
a fish in a barrel. There's a certain flow and rhythm. And, and that's why I always say, engage with people, even if they're not going to be the type to say buy from you, because you'll be surprised. You never know. Even like the person that's walking down the aisle, observing you interacting with someone else will be more apt to approach you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you are very conversive.
I don't know if you guys do this too. Like having a healthy ego about it, I think helps. Like where it's like, not getting upset that someone didn't buy from you, and just like being able to like have a conversation with someone and then they just kind of walk away.
You know how many times like, people will say, yeah, you know what? I don't really have the money for it now, whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
But then I'll hand them a card and say, you know what? That's cool. But if if you're here all 3 days, take my card, check out the website. If you want anything, come back.
Yeah.
Day 2, day 3, they may just come back and be like, you know what? We spoke the other day. Let me check that out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out because you stay with them, because you build that relationship. It's about building that relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
and also being kind, like like just giving somebody 5 minutes of your time is huge sometimes.
And I think that's something that's kind of missing, even in the crowdfunding campaigns, because they can't see you. You know what I mean? They don't know who they're pledging to. They don't know who they're giving their money to, and there's a sense of like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this book, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there is that fear. There is that fear.
Right. Yeah. I try to get on YouTube and do like streams and things like that whenever I'm doing a crowdfunder, just to kind of do what you're saying, where it's like you kind of make yourself the face of it. Yeah. Someone else here, I don't know if this is a funny story or not, but Annabelle Arroyo is how you say it. Asked George about Baltimore Comic Con 2013. LOL.
We gotta know.
It sounds like that's gonna be a great story.
Well, I'm trying. There's so many stories. 2013, like I'm old now, so 2013. Listen, we've stayed in some shitty places, and I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can curse on the show.
Yeah, I got some horror stories.
But dude, just recent, and I thought you think you've learned your lesson about staying in these places, but you're trying to save as much money as you possibly can. Yeah, no, that's
true. Like people don't understand the expenses that go into going.
So you're over here, you're sharing rooms with friends and stuff like that. We booked a hotel room, and it wasn't a hotel, it was a motel. Okay. So the noises that were coming from the room next door were just out of control. I'm hope she's okay. I'm hope she's all right. Like, it was just crazy, but it's because you're trying to save that money. Like, 4 guys in the room. You know what I mean? Like,
one of the travel hacks that I do is that I'll stay at the hotel that's like adjacent to the venue only for the days of the show, and I'll try to like bookend the trip with like really cheap like hotel type places. So like there's been times where I fly out to California. So like I'm at the Hyatt, I'm on the 5th floor, it's beautiful, I got a great view of the bay, and then like the last day of the trip, it's like I'm in the back of a fucking car wash, and there's like a billboard for like a lawyer like injured.
You're like at that hotel that
stabbed,
Keanu
call
Reeves
your-
runs in Neon Demon. You ever see that movie?
Oh,
Yes.
that's amazing.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So
Yeah, it's
that's
funny,
the pro tip is stay at the shitty places, you know, on the outsides of
There
your
you
trip.
go.
And stay at the nice place. In the
Well,
middle.
at this last Terrificon, I decided to try to do that, let's save a few bucks. And Johnny knows I was like, oh, let's try what is it? I'm blanking on the name of it. Airbnb. Let's try Airbnb. So I found this cheap one and it was like $50 a night. What a nightmare. It was me and my wife, and we were in this small room. It was called like the Americana House, and we walk in there and it was like dolls everywhere. There was like a giant teddy bear in the corner of the room. There was like, and the door had like a
The
hole.
teddy bear was smoking. It was like, hey, how you doing?
And I swear it was haunted because that late at night, I was like, there was an empty room across from us, and I was like, the guy didn't show up. She told us there was supposed to be a guy coming in, so I'm like, I'm gonna go sleep in that room because it was like 4 a.m. The guy wasn't there. And I'm laying there, and I keep hearing somebody walking downstairs, and I kept getting up because I thought it was the guy finally showing up, and no one would come up the stairs. I'm like, there's fucking something going on down there. You know, it was just what a nightmare. We literally left the next night and ended up taking the hit on it. You know, we just was like, I'm going home, and we'll just drive in. You know, so but
Dude,
yeah, I'm sure everybody has those horror.
I'm
stories,
telling you,
know?
yeah, it's so true. When you've done this long enough, you do have some stories to tell.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, it's so true.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit to like 2003. So how old were you at that point? And you were just kind of
in my I guess I was in my mid-20s, maybe early 20s, something like that. Yeah.
And at this time you were like, let me take a shot at this, like make a comic book.
So you know, being a little kid, being a creative little kid, I was always drawing my own stories and stuff like that. Like at that time, I was drawing my own stuff. You know, fold an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in half. You know, staple it, and that's your comic, right? That was my way of doing comics, and that was it. And then around that time, I took a class in the School of Visual Arts, like a summer class, where I met my friend Sam Vera, who does the podcast with me, and we were taking a live drawing.
Sorry,
was that?
I think Sam was on our show.
I think he's funny. I think he's trying to get on your show.
Oh, is he
that's
really?
What it is. That's what it is. Yeah. My bad.
I think I got some emails I have to look at.
I was like, I beat you to it, buddy. I beat you to
it. What's the name of his comic? I think I saw.
Well, he's got one called Forbidden.
He's got a few.
Yes. Okay. If you see him, tell him I'll get back to him shortly on it. It's just been crazy with this stuff.
Will.
You know?
so I met him there. And at the time he had a book called Cosmic Gorf, and I had a book called Rust 5377. And we kind of like, we kind of just hit it off. And he's like, dude, I'm starting my own indie publishing company. You want to like get down with it? It was called Crazy Comics. And I was like, hell yeah, man, I have a friend, his name is Jonathan, can he be down? We were young, like, let's do this, take this fucking world by storm, let's create our own stories. Finally I get to create my own stories. And that's when I basically discovered 11 by 17 sheets of paper, Photoshop, putting comics together. And that's what kind of started me on this journey of like creating comics
and actually
quote
putting
unquote
it
right
out.
way.
Yeah. Not just for yourself anymore.
Correct.
And kind of trying to get an audience. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so what was the first comic you actually produced?
So it was a book called Rust 5377, which I drew and I wrote. And then I tell the story all the time. I'm sure people who like Aniba, who's watching, has heard this shit a million times, but he was actually in my life at the time when this was going on. So I put this book together. It was like I was young. Yeah, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was, I used to write my stories and draw them, write and draw. And as I'm drawing, I'm writing. And there was never a plan as to where the story was going. So by issue number 3, I had hit a wall. I didn't know what the hell else to go with the story. So I was drawing the story. I was doing everything on my own, and I send it out. Like, let me get some critics to tell me what they think of my book. So I send it to this one critic. He tore it apart, dude. He ripped it. The colors are garish. The book is gaudy. Like all these freaking crazy words that I had to look up at the time. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, so I'm like, yo, this is bullshit. So I stopped drawing it. I was like, you know what? I'm not drawing it, but I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna finish writing this book. So I revamped it, rewrote it, and then I hired some artists to draw it for me. I met these guys out in the Philippines who did a very good job and drew the 6 issues for me. And then back in 2000 and I want to say 2000 and maybe 14. I put it in a graphic novel and I printed it, so it's done. It's completed. So now you can get it on indieplanet.com.
Oh, cool! Awesome.
Now,
so it's
I was
there.
Gonna say, I was going to say, I read it off of Webtoons. Is that your version or is that the final version?
That's the final version.
Okay. Got you. Okay.
Yeah, that's the final version.
So do you think like in some weird way, like that critic helped you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard. You know, it's funny. It's hard to take critique.
Oh yeah.
At the time it's happening.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're open to it, I think ultimately it helps. Like I think there's some things that as a creator, you're like, no, he doesn't get what I'm trying to go for here. And there's things that you're adamant about.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that it makes you rethink stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
I think a couple of things happened. I think that critic probably caught me at the right time in my life, right? I was still young and trying to learn. I was still willing to take that feedback and take it and dissect it and say, okay, I'm going to do this. If he had maybe said that to me now, I'd probably be like, you don't know what you're talking about. This is my story. I know what I'm doing. Because you know, as you get older, you're like, I'm not listening to this punk. He probably never drew a comic in his life, type of thing. Right?
Exactly.
So I think he caught me at the right time.
Their expertise, so to say.
Right.
Yeah.
But the other side of that too is that it could also break you, right? Like something like that at an early age can also just deter you completely from doing this thing.
Yeah,
they could just say, you know what, I'm quitting. I'm doing it. I'm not. That he's right. I'm not good at this shit. What am I? I'm kidding myself. I'm not.
Well, if you get a critic that doesn't know how to critique properly, like you know, like if they're just coming at you with the negative, right, and no positives, that could kill you. You know, like.
I also feel like when, you know, I'm speaking for myself and other indie creators I've, you know, worked alongside with, I feel like the ego is really big at the beginning and it kind of shrinks over time, right? And so
well, I think as you start to understand this crazy industry too.
Right.
Yeah.
So then at that point, it's like that's the easiest time to take critique is when the ego's at its most subdued because you have a creative open heart, right?
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of different things. You've seen people rise and fall. And, you know, like you said, some people, they just take their first critique and then they hit the bench, you know what I mean? Yeah. And some people take that and that motivates them. And that, you know,
and that's what it did.
Fire up.
And that's what it did.
It's a fire up within you, you know?
Yeah, to prove them wrong kind of thing.
Yeah, it motivated me. It definitely motivated me.
And then so for me personally, like my motivators now is like, one is, you know, the critique I get and you know, my creative peers and, you know, seeing how well they do and it, you know, gives me a standard to work towards.
Sure.
And then the other one, since doing this show with Keith, and I think actually, George, we've had this conversation over Instagram where we see other people that, you know, like who come on the show and they just do so much and they're like inspiring, you know, their creative spirit's inspiring. And the person I was actually referencing specifically was Nandor Fox. That kid was on Catch the Craze and he was on our show and he's like done so much in his 20s. Where, like, if I buckled down and like I had the mentality then, like he has now, like that kid's gonna be working for Image in no time.
Right.
He's right there too. That latest project he just did looks amazing. You know?
And that kid's so inspiring, you know?
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's weird how like he has it together more than any of us had it at that age, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, because this stuff is, I mean, it's tough to, I mean, I give props to anybody that will make a comic and then go to shows with whatever your skill level is. Like, I mean, the fact that you accomplished, I mean, the fact that you created something and put it out in the world is huge. Like a lot of people, how many people you run into at a show that says like, oh, I got this idea for a comic, you know, and it's like in your head, you're like, this dude's never producing anything, you know, like, I mean, how many times do you run into that?
I'm going to get on that side of the table.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I honestly, I give props to anybody that will complete something like that's huge, you know. So
yeah. So I didn't mean to throw us on a tangent. Talk a little bit more about your creative projects. Now I know you had Russ 5377, then you actually finally collected it.
Yeah.
And is it a complete story, or do you have more in the works for that?
So it's a complete story. So like when you buy the graphic novel, it's 6 chapters. you get a beginning, middle, and end of the story. What I did do in that story, though, is I left it open for additional stories to be told within that world, just because even now I'm like developing a story that follows with that, you know what I mean? But if you get that book, it's beginning, middle, and end. You get that story that's done. So it's almost like an arc, right? It's like the arc of that story.
That's right.
So
and this could be like the next season.
Correct.
I know some people do that now with comics,
Yeah. So right now the first chapter is on Webtoons. So you can get the first chapter on Webtoons. And then if you like the story and you want to buy the book, you can always go to my website at getyourmeds.com.
Yeah, I was going to share that.
I was going to say, can we bring that site up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Because even earlier when I was checking it out, there's one of the projects here, Street Journal.
Yes.
Looks like my kind of project. I wanted to hear a little bit more about that too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about Street Journal. So Street Journal, it's funny because before I met Sam, I met a young man by the name of Jonathan Syfax. Not a young man anymore, but we were young men at the time. Okay. So we got together, and he's from the Bronx. I grew up in Yonkers. And so he had this story about this young boy named Tyreek who grew up in the Bronx. He was a writer, right? And the world around him was falling apart, and he would write everything he saw in a journal, and that became his street journal. And the stories about him growing up in that environment and what he does with his talent. Will it break him or will it make him a great writer? So that's what that story is about. And so we're developing now. So we actually, Anibal Arroyo, who was just on the chat, he drew the first, that's his artwork right there.
Oh, right on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He drew the first 3 issues. And it was one of those things where we were, again, young. And as you get older, you see the world through different eyes. So Jonathan and I sat down and said, you know what, we could probably tell this story even better now that we've, matured and been through some stuff. Yeah. So let's sit down, let's rewrite the story. And right now we're rewriting it right now. I'm telling you, this thing's become a monster. It's like almost like a 300-page book that we're gonna have to bring this down a little bit. But let's write as much as you can and then chop down after. Let's not limit ourselves to a page number. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So that's in development. So we're working on that right now, which, it's one of those things where, like, I tell John all the time, the hardest part of this story, because honestly, it takes place back in 1995. And at this point, 1995 has become a period piece. Like, we can think about, the 90s seemed like it wasn't so far away. That shit's like almost 30 years ago. Like, that's a period piece. It
seems like yesterday to me. Still.
I know.
But people dressed differently back in that time. They spoke differently. Like, the pants were a lot baggier than they are now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And we think about the 80s so far away, and 90s is right there,
Right.
Yeah.
So finding an artist who can capture that look is what we're going to try to, it's going to be a bit of I guess maybe a challenge, but we want to write it. We want to finish writing it first and then worry about what artist we're going to
how to break it down. Yeah. What is it? Just another guy named Harry said 90s are having a mini revival right now through so i.e. Showtime's Yellow Jacket. Yeah, definitely. You're starting to see that a little more and more. Like, there was like the 80s a few years ago, and now it's gonna become the 90s stuff. Yeah, definitely seeing that. This other book looks interesting. Is this a nod to like those Disney afternoons, the Adventures of Wonder Duck?
So the big influence, right, was that, like I was telling you guys, when I used to watch the DuckTales cartoon, there was a character called Gizmo Duck.
Yeah, that was
my boy. That was my guy. Like, Gizmo Duck was my guy. So when I started, and then when you're a little kid, you just start writing stuff, and a lot of times you're copying shit, like, you don't even care, right?
So right.
I started developing this character back in like 92, man. Like, it was like a long time ago. And so as time went along, I was like, let me change the story around. Let me make it a little more for me. And so I finally completed the story again, hired some artists to get it done. And they did such a solid job. Like, the artwork that they did was just, I was like, dude, this could be like a cartoon. Like, I got to keep doing this. So it's a 4-chapter first part book that I finished, and that's collected in the graphic novel as well that you can get on the thing. Right now, it's being published through Darkfire Press. That's J.M. DeSantis. I don't know if you guys know the name.
I've heard the name.
So that's his company. Darkfire Press. He's got a book called Chariana. Big shout out to him. And so he took the book. He said, "Yeah, dude, he took it on. He's publishing it for me. Right now, it's on Amazon. It's on BarnesandNobles.com.
Awesome.
So, Comixology has the book now, so you can get it there." And next year in May, I'm actually going to continue the story, and I'm putting together a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign.
Oh, cool!
For
you'll have to
chapter
come back
5.
on when you're ready to launch.
Excellent.
We'll
Yeah. I'm
absolutely.
doing a pre-launch page in January. So the pre-launch page will be out in January, and then that'll give me some time just to promote it. Because when you're an indie, man, when nobody knows you, you got to do that shit ahead of time.
You gotta capture emails.
So much. So have you done a crowdfunder yet, or?
I have. So
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So working with Sam,
then.
we did a couple. Yeah, we have a book called Catch the Crazies, which is basically just a riff on our podcast. It's about 2 podcasters trying to be the most popular podcast in the world, and so we enlist the help of us.
Scroll down, Keith. There's a tab for it.
Oh yeah. There's there they are. Catch the
Crazies. Okay.
Yeah. So we've done a couple of books, actually 3 books, and we're actually going to be launching the 4th Kickstarter campaign coming up next year also. So next year's going to be pretty busy, man. But it's like
cool.
We just stay busy, man. Like as creators, we just have stories to tell.
Any other way, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So would you consider yourself more of a writer nowadays?
Yes.
Yeah. Same with me. Like I can draw a little bit, but I never my art style was always cartoony, like comic strip kind of art.
Too.
And like I still like to do that. I still like to make comic strips, but like when it comes to draw or doing like a superhero comic or something like that, I definitely want an artist stronger than me, like in that kind of sense.
Yeah, I think that's important to know your limitations, right? So you don't jeopardize or you don't sabotage your own project. Like
you don't get in the way of your own self.
Exactly.
Definitely know where your limits are. Absolutely. Know where your strengths and weaknesses are. I think that's huge. Like that's being able to, like we were talking about with the ego, is being able to look at yourself objectively.
That's right.
Other people just like on another planet, and we all know them, at shows and stuff, but like.
What I will do is I'll sketch out what the character should look like. You know what I mean? So that there is no confusion.
And I'll even do thumbnails sometimes for the artist. If I want a certain thing to happen in the way I'm seeing it in my head, I will do that, So it's kind of cool that I think it's good that you're an artist going into it as writing it, because you can see it visually and kind of explain it better to an artist,
It's so nice to have that skill set just to reinforce, because usually with me, like I'm a terrible artist. I can't even get good stick figures to kind of convey my point. So more often than not, I really have to like over detail the script, or I'll be like, you ever see this movie where this, and like I'll like pull a screenshot from a movie and then just send that and like, see reference image 1.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like the shot in RoboCop when his arm, like his helmet split.
Yeah.
Just like, you're like, I want that angle like that.
That's amazing.
So you're sending YouTube videos instead of
thumbnails. Believe me, I've done that.
I have done that too.
That's great.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So this is great, George.
Thanks,
this is a great body of work for all these years,
man. You've got the hustle too, man. You're a stellar example of the indie artist who's got quality, consistency, and travel under their belt.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's important. Yeah, you're right, man.
Yeah, definitely. You're one of the creators that can actually go out there and go to a convention and talk to people, and like you're having the show too, I imagine helps that,
what I didn't want to fall into was thinking that I can do an ongoing series and keep it going. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of there goes Seabass. It's kind of like again, knowing your limitations, right? I know I can't put a monthly book out. It's not going to happen. I can't afford it. I can't afford the artist to do it. I just can't. So let me put together these maybe 4 chapters, 6 chapters at a time, compile them. There's no shelf life on that book now. It's got an ISBN number. You're right. You know what I mean? You can put it on a shelf. It's not it's May and now it's July, August, and I can't sell it anymore. No, I can still sell it. It's a book. It's a book now. It's not just a comic book. It's an actual book with graphics in it, with comics in it. And so now I can push it further. So I think that was my mindset when I decided to compile stories together rather than put them out every month, because I just like the limitations are there, man. Like I don't draw it. I have to hire somebody. Artists aren't cheap. You know what I mean? It's not, and it's not it's not their fault. If you're good, it's like the Joker said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. Like, why do it for free, right? So they're gonna charge you for it, and you got to pay for it. So
it's true, and you get what you pay for.
it.
Like if you can find people that'll do free work, but
dude,
how often are you going to get a book done? You know what I mean? Like
when we started, that was the whole thing, right? It's like, yo, dude, you know what? Let's do this together, and let just do the work for free, and when it takes off, we can split it. Like those were the dreams, and those were the things that we were talking to each other and saying to each other. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's how we got Anibal to draw that book. Like, hey, Anibal, once the things takes off, you know what I'm saying? We got it, and we're still working on it. Like, it's like, just doesn't happen.
What's that old saying? Artists, they're gonna die from exposure.
That's the thing too. It's like up front, you're like, oh, you want to collaborate with everybody, and then like the more experienced and seasoned you get, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be very selective of who I partner with.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing too. Like Sebastian.
Hey, nothing wrong with
George
beer and
pays me in beer and wings. Is that true, George?
I don't pay him at all. He's lying.
I don't pay him. Artists, I always find I do stuff for free. It's always for a friend or an acquaintance. That's true, but they should still pay you, Harry.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like it's your time,
but that's very kind of you to do so, Harry. I have an artist friend that like he'll always step up to bat for me when I need it, and more often than not, I struggle to try to do it on my own. Like even like when I was assembling the PDFs for the printing for Surrounded by Death, I kept running into these errors and issues, and I'm like, I've tried every permutation, like, and really, honestly, what it was is I had to do some writing for him that was delaying it. So he was like, let me just do it. I'll help you out. And it's like, it's so great to have gracious artist friends who will actually take. Keith's bailed me out of a few jams too. Like it's great to have artist friends,
Dude, honestly, like I gotta say, I got a couple of artist friends. Joe Holly, who's a great friend of mine. He's a great artist. If you guys check him out, he's on Instagram. His name is Joe Holly. He's got a book called Pretty. It's a horror book called Pretty about a dude with a mask who kills people, and he calls himself Pretty. It's crazy. And he's got another book called Timberwolves, but he's a really good artist, and he's a really good friend of mine. He's done a lot of great stuff for me. And Victor Claudio, he's a colorist, but he's also an artist who has also done stuff for me, who's amazing. He's got a book called The Masked Children, another horror book. It's freaking sick. It's like the reverse of like Freddy Krueger. You know how Freddy Krueger killed kids? These kids kill people. Like, it's crazy. But
cool.
But yeah, you guys have to check some of that stuff out. Yeah, it's kind of sick. But yeah, those guys, again, talking about guys who will help you out and hook you up on a pinch. Those guys are those guys for me. And they actually have a cover on my Kickstarter next year, so I'll be showing some of that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome
for sure.
My wife said, and this is cool, friends or acquaintances should still pay or sometimes barter. I'll make you a drawing if you bake me a cake. That's not a bad idea. It's not bad. It's something. It's a payment in some form.
I agree. And that's true, because I do lettering. So like if these guys ever need like lettering for their books, hey man, let me know. I'll hook you up. That kind of thing. So you definitely have to help each other out.
Yeah, and that's part of the indie community too. I feel like, definitely. So when did the podcast start for you guys?
Oh, dude. So the podcast, started at a necessity. So we started the podcast back in like 2006, I think.
Oh, okay. That's when they were just taking off.
This was before podcasting was cool, right? Like before we had all this shit.
Before everybody and his brother had a podcast.
Yes, we used to mount like those big camcorder, just on the corner there to record ourselves and stuff like that. Thought we were cool. Like there was none of this before. So we started that back in the days, but it was a means to get our stuff out there, like to promote ourselves.
I kind of remember the name, like back in the day, because like back in like around that time I was at a desk job where I used to listen to a ton of podcasts.
Oh yeah. And
the name of your show used to come up a lot. Other people talking about it too.
Yeah.
Is it primarily comics?
See, it was primarily comics, and it was, we really, honestly, and we talk about it all the time, because what happened was after, maybe like in 2008, 2010 maybe, Sam kind of stepped away from comics because sometimes this thing will kill you, man. Like because you're so into it, you want to get it done, and sometimes the pockets say, hey man, we're tapping out, can't do it anymore.
Right.
And sometimes you got to step away from it. So he stepped away, the show ended there, and then a couple of years ago, he was thinking about coming back, like, because that itch is still there, right? When you're a creator, you're like, you want to come back. And I remember finding, we used to have like at conventions, our thing was make sure that our that we look bigger than we are, right? Fake it until you make it. So we had these big cutouts of like our characters that people would stand in front of and take pictures of or whatever. And I found one of his cutouts. Yeah, and I found one of his cutouts, and I said, and I contacted him. I said, Sam, I got this cutout. I'm about to, I don't know if do you want it? Should I throw it out? He's like, no, bring it. And I went to his house. And we sat down and he was like, yo, dude, I really want to come back. I'm like, yo, let's bring back this show. And sure enough, we brought it back. So it came back about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. So how long was the gap from when you guys stopped?
About 10 years. It was like about a 10
Really? Okay.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So what happens in 10 years is you're forgotten. Like, I kind of remember that.
It's like starting over, basically.
So you got to start all over again. So now you got to build the fan base all over again. So that's what we are right now. Like, trying to get more, subscribers, the whole thing with YouTube, get monetized at 1,000, subscribers or whatever it is. Yeah. So, we're in the process of trying to get it back and doing that. But yeah, it was a means to an end, man. Like at the time, there was really nobody talking about indies. So we're like, let's fucking put a show together that talks about indies.
Yeah, right. And like, that was it. And now it seems like that's all that's going on, right? No, but that's awesome. I mean, like, I think back in the day, there was only like a handful I used to listen to. Secret. Do you know the Secret Identity guys, Brian and Matt Man? Do you know them?
I don't know them, but I know the name.
You've heard that? They stopped
like
doing the show too.
Something. There were a few of them. Yeah,
they stopped and they started doing a music podcast, which I thought was a huge mistake because now they lost that entire audience.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
it's
building again.
When you had that 10-year gap, did you have anybody from the past like jump back on, or was it like literally starting from zero?
So so when we came back on the show, a lot of the guys, there's a gentleman, I'm gonna give him a big shout out. His name is Gilbert Rodriguez. Okay. Gilbert Rodriguez, we met. He bought one of my first comics, the shitty comic that I'm talking about, that Russ 5377. He bought that shit back in the days. He bought both issues 1 and 2. Years later at a convention, like when I brought out the new version of it. He came by the show and said, dude, I remember you. Look, I got your books. I was like, bro, what? To see that guy. So he was one of the guys that kind of came back. And when we came back and the show came back on, he came back on. And a lot of the other indies, like a lot of our indie friends who we knew back in the days. I don't know if you guys heard of KJ Murphy. GWP. He has a book called The Road to Valhalla. He just did a Kickstarter for it.
Yes. I actually met him at Terrificon.
Yes. So he was one of the guys that we knew back in the days. He came on board. I don't know if you guys know a guy named James Rodriguez. He had a book called The Chronicles of Sarah. And he's been in the indie. He's been in the indie game for a long time. Brian Kong, I don't know if you guys have heard of Brian Kong.
Oh yeah, he does like characters and cards.
He does cards. He does the trading cards.
He's a nice dude.
He's a great guy. So a lot of those guys that stayed in the business, and when the show came back, we're like, you know what, let's have you guys back and shoot the shit again and talk and relive old experiences.
So they were like picking up with old friends again.
Yeah. I stayed when Sam left. I stayed and me and Jonathan and Anibal, the guys that I mentioned, we formed a group called Mas Media Studios, MAS. So it's Medina, Arroyo, and Cyfax. Sam likes to joke that Mas backwards is Sam, so he was never really gone. I'm like, you but yeah, so we did that for a while. So we kept, I stayed in the publishing thing, and because networking is huge, man. When we're this small,
it is. It's so like big. It's almost half of what you got to do. It's like crazy. Like
and you got to be careful because you can't be an asshole because the industry is so small. They know.
Right.
We know the assholes. Like
it's true. Like everybody kind of knows who's it's crazy how much how much work it is almost just to do the promoting side of things,
It's so much work.
It's so like, back we started this show back when what 2 months into the pandemic, Johnny? Was it around there?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like I was thinking about doing a show, but I never had time.
Yeah.
And now it's just part of my weekly routine now because once you get the hardest part is starting it again,
yes.
I think,
Yes.
And you got kind of getting that rhythm. And now me and Johnny are in this rhythm for like a year and a half now, or maybe almost 2 years now at this point, or getting close.
Maybe,
but it's like it's like you said, Johnny, consistency is key, man. And you know what? And that's why I knew that you guys were gonna, like, when I send you that message, you guys are busy, and I get it, because we get busy too, because everybody's like wants to be on the show, because everybody wants to talk about this stuff, and it's understandable.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I think that anybody watching, if you're trying to get on these shows, you got to do it with time. You can't just say, "Hey, can I be on your show next week?" Nah, dude, there's a list. And you're not being assholes. I totally understood when you told me, dude, I don't know. I had some times in November, and this was back in, like, I don't know, I think it was September or something like that.
Yeah.
You guys were busy, and I understood. I was like, dude, whenever you got the time, just let me know when you have, because I understand that.
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to promote, you got to stay ahead of that shit, because a lot of these shows, there's a lot of people also knocking on that door to try to get on that show. You know what I mean? And
Definitely.
it's not that you guys are being assholes. You're not being dicks. You're not trying to just shun people and get out of here. I'm not. I don't want to mess with you. You really just don't have the time.
Yeah, no, it's true. But we do try to make time if it's a time sensitive thing, like a Kickstarter or something.
Too. Yeah.
But that's tough. But it's
that's tough. You can't do it for everybody.
Yeah,
that's
true.
The thing is, we used to have this bi-weekly schedule where it was like 1 week we're on, 1 week we're off, and then we had just so many people who had Kickstarters. We're like, okay, we're going like once a week.
Yeah,
and
then we started
there's
going
times where we had
sometimes twice a week.
Twice a week, and we were like,
it was
this
killing
is
me
craziness.
because you know this, George. Like prepping for a YouTube live stream is like, it's not just turning it on and going. It's like you're
a producer.
Thumbnail. You gotta go find all the graphics. Links.
Yes.
You gotta put a description up. You gotta do all the tags. I mean, it's like it's a whole side business almost just doing that. And then you gotta go promote it too. You know, it's like it's on top of everything else you gotta do. So sometimes I've had to say no, to a few people. It's like, or I just gotta push out, and
I'll tell you this. I implore anybody watching who gets on a show, subscribe to that show. Subscribe to it. Don't just say, definitely. I'm going to be on it. They got me. No, subscribe to the show and promote the shit out of that show, because you're going to be on it. Like, you're going to be on that show. And even after it airs, keep promoting it. keep getting those hits. Right? Because what I'm saying right now is not going to change 5 months from now. I'm not Jim Lee, bro. Like, my book is still going to be on my website. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still going to be selling The Adventures of Wonder Duck. I'm still working on Street Journal. I'm still selling Rust 5377. That hasn't changed. So I will keep promoting. Hey guys, don't forget to go check out that interview. And it's more hits. We grow together, and that's what indies and everybody watching has to understand. We grow together. I'm on this show right now. I'm promoting me, but I'm promoting you. We got to help each other out.
And I agree. And
understand that.
When I was doing the links this past week, setting up everything, I went right to your channel. I think I subscribed. I think on that day. Help you guys grow a little more.
That. Yeah, I did the same thing.
Johnny,
if
you get a chance, jump over there with your YouTube sub.
I think I may have. I just have to double check.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that? Sometimes you forget, right? Like, I don't know if you guys know Mark Torres. It came from the radio.
Oh yeah.
For years, I thought I was subscribed to his YouTube channel, and I wasn't. I'm like, I'm a dick. I haven't subscribed to his channel. Wow. So I went over there and I subscribed to his channel right away. His show actually comes on. I think I listened to it on Amazon or something like that. Like, because he's all over the place. And that's one of those shows that's been around for a long time.
I'll check that one out too.
Yeah.
I'm always looking.
That's the other thing too, is I find like, I met someone on, like, we were on a panel together, and like, I catch their social media, and then like, I'm on your show. It's like, okay, now I subscribe to the channel. So it's like, it all comes in pieces too.
And I try to do that too. Whenever I have a guest on, I'll go on and I'll friend request them if I don't have them as a friend. Instagram follow, and then also I'll subscribe to the channel if I haven't already. So I agree with all of that. Like, it's just help each other grow, and
I joke
even if you don't watch it, it just helps. You know what I mean? Like, it helps the numbers.
It's free, bro. Like they're not charging you for a subscription. Like you don't get you don't get like a certain limit of subscriptions, and then they start charging you after the 10th one.
Yeah,
you can subscribe to anything, bro. Like just subscribe.
And George, how annoying when you can't even get like a family relative to just subscribe. How annoying!
Like subscribe. You know
hit
what
the button and then mute it.
Yeah, yeah. You know what you get for me Christmas? Subscribe to my goddamn channel.
That's it. Yo, but when they unsubscribe, that just
that drives me crazy.
Really, guys?
Definitely,
Come on, man.
Oh my god.
But yeah, nah, it's crazy.
But yeah, my wife's actually asking if we can get the name of George's podcast again. I need more podcasts.
Yeah,
my wife's looking
Catch the Craze.
It's like
Catch the Craze, right?
Catch the Craze with a D. Yeah, DA. Catch.
Yeah, let me see if I can link it from the website here.
Check it out. I definitely would love to have you guys on, whether it's as a group or independently,
anytime,
whatever.
Anytime.
That'd be great. Yeah, it'd be fun.
I know you guys are doing Mighty Mascots is off the hook, man. I love that.
Really? Thanks, George. I appreciate that. I'm having a blast.
I need to see more stuff from you, Johnny. I got to see more stuff. I definitely do, man.
You gotta check out his new Surrounded by Death.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
I think the difference between his first issue to the second issue is astounding, I would say. Wouldn't you say, Johnny? Like
what's that?
From the first issue, Surrounded by Death, to your second issue.
And it's the same artist. That's the crazy thing
which is
about
crazy.
It too, yeah. So if you look at issues 1 and 2 of Surrounded by Death, the art is like night and day difference, and then you get to see the actual scale of my artist Joe Martinez improve over time, and that's amazing. So it's I like to equate it to like when you think back to like the first episode of The Simpsons or the first episode of South Park or even Beavis and Butthead when like they were still squiggly lines like that were around the the board, so it's like it just kind of improved over time,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I gotta check that out. So Surrounded by Death, I could just find it on your social.
Yeah, it's all over my social. I'll send you the digital files. Don't even sweat it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'd love to check that out. We actually have a section in Catch the Craze called What's in the Box, where we just kind of look through the pages of a book of like one of your books or whatever, just to, just to get people to see it and just almost like put it in their minds. It's almost like incepting.
Yeah, let me know if you need copy like PDF stuff if you want to check it out.
PDFs
or even
are probably
physical copies. I can mail you physical copies.
Yeah.
So whenever. Let me know. If you want to interview us both or separately, both, it would do it.
Whatever. We could do both and one each. That's 3 episodes right there, man. That's just
more content. Subscribed. Yes,
I like it. Is the podcast available on like Apple and iTunes and all that too?
Spotify,
so
Apple,
it's both a YouTube
audio
show and awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah, it's both.
What do people can expect from your show if they want to check it out? Is it
So in the channel we do, we obviously do the live shows for like the people who have the podcast and stuff like that. And so we'll just talk for people who have the Kickstarters or the Indiegogos crowdfunding campaigns. So we'll talk to them on live shows because those campaigns are going live right now. But we also have every Friday we'll come out with an episode. They're an hour long. The first half is basically the do's and don'ts of indie publishing, the mistakes we've made that you shouldn't probably make, and topics like that. So we'll do a topic like that. The segment is called Get Your Meds. So we'll have that segment at the beginning. And then the second half of the show is just interviewing an indie and talking about that indie, whether it's a magician, a freaking a musician, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't have to be comics. It's just the indie world.
George, I was going to say like one suggestion that I think could help your YouTube channel if you got time is to maybe take those sections, like just the part about the indie do's and don'ts,
right? Split them
create
up.
a whole video series just of those.
Yeah,
I think that could help. Like help grow the channel.
That's a very
good idea. I talked
to like the informative videos.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to do, and I'm noticing people are liking those. I don't know if it'll help the channel grow or anything. But
no, you're right. You know what it is with
with
YouTube. It's about how many hours people watch, right? So that's just more content for people to kind of watch. So that's an
but I think that's something that indie creators look for. I did an interview with a guy. I think his name's Lucifer Storm. He's like a UK guy over doing YouTube, and his YouTube went from like a couple hundred subscribers to like almost 3,000. And I asked him like, how'd you do that? And he was like, I just started doing videos about how I write and like writing techniques and stuff like that. And then his channel blew up after that. So I'm like, so maybe people are looking for those kind of things, like the how-tos and the like, you know, hearing it from creators on like what to avoid. So just a suggestion, you know.
No, that's great.
There might be something. It might be an untapped thing for you, you know.
True, yeah, because I mean, it's already, the content is already there, so it's just taking it out.
It is. It's just like going in, back in,
Yeah.
editing it, and then making it a new video, you know,
Yeah.
and call it something. Maybe put like a new music at the beginning or end, or something. You know what I mean? It's brand new content. You know,
I gotta give Sam credit because he's really like, so his backstory, and you'll have him on the show. You'll ask him, but his backstory is in music. Like he was a rapper back in the days.
Really? Okay.
And
yeah.
So he enjoys creating these beats and these little things. So we have another section, and this is a total different show that comes out like maybe on Wednesdays. It's called, like I told you, What's in the Box. So he'll have a whole intro for that. There's another one called The Crazy in 10 or Less, where we just talk about a topic in 10 minutes or less. And that has like its own little intro music. So there's a little bit of, you know, just a little bit of everything sprinkled into the channel for you guys to check out. So there's always something up there. You know what I mean?
That's great. Yeah. How often do you update? Do you put up new video like once a week
every Friday,
or twice a week? Okay.
Every Friday there's a new video. And then, you know, we try to do Mondays and Wednesdays, we try to put up new videos. But every Friday, you'll definitely have a video every Friday because we pre-record them.
You guys are
a lot of hustle, man. Respect.
Like you guys are over 500 subs, so that's awesome. You know?
Yeah.
I know how hard it is to just build and build. You know, like,
and then it just seems to stop for a while, and you're like, oh man,
and then
we were going.
It's we know. But I hear once you hit 1,000,
that's what I hear.
Get a little easier.
That's what I hear. Yeah,
like it starts. I think like the floodgates open with YouTube or something with the algorithms or something.
Right.
You know? But it's just the hustle to get to that 1,000 and all the watch hours you need.
Yeah,
it's crazy, you know. So,
no.
But that's awesome. And you guys have been doing that for 3 years since you guys came back, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Since maybe 7. Well, right before the pandemic. So maybe 19. Yeah, so 3 years. Yeah, 19, 20, 21. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because once the pandemic hit, dude, it was like, yo, what are we gonna do? Because we used to get together. I used to go into Sam's house, get together, and do this thing, you know, in the studio, you know, just me and him. And then the pandemic hit, and we're like, yo, how the hell are we gonna do this? You know, and then we tried Skype, you know, we tried, you know, a couple of things, and none of that stuff worked. Zoom worked the best for us, and now obviously StreamYard has you know, kind of perfected some of the stuff. So
I love StreamYard. I think it's like a game changer with everything. Oh, thanks, man. He Fizz
right.
I just subscribed.
There
awesome,
you go,
man.
Yeah,
great.
Right on.
Thanks for doing that. So anything upcoming that you want to, because we're about an hour and 10 minutes now, which is crazy. Like we've been talking.
Well, time flies, man.
Well, it does. It's like it always helps when you have a great guest on, you know.
I appreciate that, man. No, but you guys, it's easy to talk to you guys. We're just like having a conversation. This is what I miss about conventions, right? Like getting together with guys and
this is what it kind of
just
like,
talking shop, bro. Like this is what it is.
Talking shop and talking shit. You know. No, but so anything coming up, George, that you guys want to talk about a little bit?
Sure,
or that you want to talk about? I should say?
Yeah, if you guys just check out. Okay, so right now, Forbidden. There's a Kickstarter campaign for Forbidden, which is Sam's book. Right now, I'm gonna want to help out my buddy and let you guys know.
I'll try to get him on. Is it going right? When's it end?
It ends December 1st. I want to say December 1st. Yeah,
I'll see if I can get him in.
Yeah,
probably on our next open spot. I'll reach out to him because we're off next Wednesday, but I think the Wednesday after is free. So I'll reach out to him, see if I can get him on.
Cool.
So that we can give that campaign a little bit of a boost. You know?
So that's going on right now. He's crazy because he put it on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. He said, "Fuck it, I'm doing it on both."
Oh, really? Yeah, I've seen people do that to mix results.
The campaign is on both platforms.
Yeah.
Some people hate. Yeah, some people hate Kickstarter, or some people hate Indiegogo. So now it's like, okay, it's on both. Pick it.
Yeah, like I support projects in both, and I me personally, I think Indiegogo is a better platform.
Yeah,
for building it. Like I like the fact that there's, as long as you hit the goal, there's like no timetable to closing out your campaign.
Right.
You can
Yeah,
just keep it going.
You can keep it on.
That
there,
I love.
Yeah.
Which Kickstarter, I think they have something called Backer Kit now, but I don't know how that all works.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys are killing it, man. The on the campaign with almost like 30 G's, right? On the
Isn't
Indiegogo.
That crazy? Like, yeah. But you know,
nuts.
But he's like out of diamond now, and this is his way to get the books out to
that
people.
was big. That was big.
It's crazy.
Man.
I think
was a big
I
move.
think it could catch on as like a new way to distribute books, you know.
Yeah.
It's nuts, you know. So
I know.
We'll try to grab all that money before like the bigger guys come in and try to take over that formula, you know. But yeah, that's what I love about Pete. Have you ever talked to Pete?
I haven't. I have through emails. Like I'm on the mailing list, so I get all the updates. Yeah, so that's the only way. But yeah, dude, what he was doing with this is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. He's just like one of those out of the box thinkers, you know, just like
good
looking for different.
Yeah.
He's a legit dude, you know. So, yeah, so that's awesome. So we'll try to get him on and for the campaign. Anything else that you guys have any exciting guests coming up?
Yeah, so we have that. Obviously the if you guys can subscribe to the channel, catch the craze. And then also next year we're gonna have a couple of titles out, like the Catch the Crazies are coming back in January. I'm doing a Kickstarter for Wonder Duck in the spring, but I will have like the pre-launch campaign going. In January as well. And obviously, just if you guys can just go to Webtoons, subscribe to that thing, and read through the Ross 5377. Wonder Duck Part 1 is on my website right now, so you can get that. And hopefully I'll get we'll start getting some stuff for Street Journal out. So
awesome. And when you do the Wonder Duck campaign, are you going to offer the first series too as part?
So yes,
so
the entire book, the entire graphic novel, you can get it as one of the pledges on there.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm still working everything out. With these campaigns, you got to figure out what you want to do. But I definitely, like I said, I have some alternate covers by my friend Joe Holly. James DeSantis, I think he's gonna have one in there for me. I'm actually, throwing down. I'm throwing down. I'm drawing something. I'm drawing a cover for the book, so that'll be. I haven't drawn anything in I don't know how long, so you'll see that. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I can't wait till next year.
That's awesome.
Can't wait.
You definitely when you're ready to launch, definitely come back and.
Definitely. Hit us up a couple months
notice.
You'll be hearing from me. Trust me.
Right. So I'm assuming now, because it's towards the end of the year, we're hearing from less people. But as soon as spring comes around, we're gonna start getting inundated again.
Yeah, we'll be bi-weekly or multi-weekly again. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But all right, yeah. So we'll look forward to that. I'd say everybody go to getyourmeds.com.
With a Z, yes.
And check out all the projects that George has got going on.
Yeah.
Subscribe to
I'm trying to grow
channel.
I'm trying to grow the Instagram page for the Adventures of Wonder Duck. So you see it on the screen there at the _adventures_of_WD. That's the page for the Wonder Duck book. So I'm trying to grow that.
Okay, great. That's on Instagram.
Yeah, it's on Instagram. Yeah.
Actually, I'll share that as well.
Yeah.
Check that out on the Insta.
Yeah. On the grams. Did it for the gram.
I think it's let me see it. Actually, I it looks like your website's still going to an older Instagram account.
Really?
WIP.
Yeah, he's trying to grow this one now.
Yeah, that's cool. So, it's probably the same Instagram account, but you just maybe changed the name. Is that
I did.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I had something else, and then I changed it to Mighty Mascots, and now my business cards have the old URL, and it's like, oh god, Instagram, man.
Yes.
But that's awesome. Yeah, so definitely check that out. Check out the podcast. Either subscribe to the YouTube channel or get it on Apple's or iTunes, all the places, right?
All of them. Yeah, Spotify,
all that stuff. Awesome.
iHeartRadio, all that shit. Yep.
Yeah, definitely check out all that and check out these books. The Russ 5377 is free to read on Webtoons, right?
Yep.
You can
I read a little bit of that and I loved it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
I
you.
have the PDF. I looked through it, but I haven't had a chance to sit down with it.
Take your time with it. Let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate it. We love the feedback. Trust me, I got thick skin, so be honest, brutally. I don't care.
You're already a seasoned creator. You've already heard the worst anyway.
I'm like, forget these guys. They don't know what they're talking about.
From my wife. My wife's going to subscribe to the YouTube and the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So you pick that up. So that's
I'm
awesome.
over the Insta myself.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Johnny, what do you got going on? Anything? Anything
okay, so
this week?
If you're going to be in upstate New York this weekend, come see me at Saratoga Comic-Con. I'm going to be the voice of the show, and I'm going to be doing the sketch-off panel on Sunday.
Oh, is that this weekend?
That's this weekend, yeah.
Dude, you're going to be...
Dude, my schedule's bananas. So,
dude, this guy with conventions. Oh, my God. I didn't know this weekend.
All right. So I actually came to the realization, Keith. Okay, so this is the schedule, right? Saratoga this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Next week, we're in San Diego. I get back on the 2nd, which is Wednesday, and we're off. But I think I just realized I leave for Chicago the following Wednesday for C2E2.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God.
So I'm going to be looking forward to, after I get back from Chicago and all the traveling is done and I hopefully don't die of COVID and I can be safe and at home. But that's what I got going on. So upstate New York this weekend, Saratoga Comic-Con. If you're in upstate New York, swing on through. It's a fun ass show. Would love to see you.
My wife says,
I am
Johnny,
crazy.
You're crazy.
I'm crazy.
Well,
I am crazy. But more importantly, thank you, George, for coming on and taking the time, especially after three in a row, dude. We greatly
I'm ready to go to sleep.
That.
I'm ready. My voice is tired. I'm tired.
Amen.
I hear you. Yeah, George is crazy with the podcast. Johnny's crazy with the conventions. Oh my God,
I'm crazy with
That's
life.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Johnny, it's funny. I was offered a free table this coming weekend at Super Mega Fest, and I turned it down just because I needed a weekend before San Diego. I was like, no fucking way am I going to a show before San Diego.
Yeah, dude.
I just need that time to make sure everything's right, before we get on that plane.
I tried to quit it, but Sam was like, no, you have to do it. Sam was like, no, you have to be the MC at the show. I'm like, I even told him, I was like, Sam, if I left for San Diego the weekend before, I'd pay $200 less on a plane ticket because it's Thanksgiving week. He's like, I don't care. You have to do the show.
Dude, wow. I would have angled for $200 more.
Well, I told him I was like, okay, well, we'll see how much the payout is on Sunday when I'm leaving to drive back to Boston.
Awesome.
Saratoga Comic-Con. See you this weekend.
Check it out. And that's a fun show, and it's fun because Johnny's there, and there's a lot of our pals there, like Jay Moores and
Jared Brown's going to be there. Jay Moores.
Yeah, say hi to both of those guys for me.
They got a Clerks reunion, so we got Dante and Randall from Clerks there this weekend. Scott Schiaffo is going to be there, who's the cancer merchant. So it's going to be a real fun show.
Nice.
That's cool. Well, have a good time, Johnny. I hope you're not too dead for San Diego.
I know. Be safe, man.
Oh my God, dude. Awesome. And then just check out the alternate campaign again. If you haven't, it's our new way.
So close to 30K.
I know. It's crazy.
I gotta check that out. I definitely gotta check that out.
When Pete launched it, we were hoping for 10. You know what I mean? And it's like this thing's blown up.
That's
so
amazing.
It's awesome. So so check that out. Those books are already at press, so they're going to be shipping in a couple weeks. So
sweet.
This thing's already going.
Cool.
And Pete's already looking to do the winter one, so that's coming right around the corner too. All right, and then me and Johnny are off next week. We're going to go back to our bi-weekly schedule, and we'll both be basically getting up super early that Thursday morning and heading right to the airport. So it's going to be nuts. So I'm excited and I'm scared at the same time.
We just hope our luggage gets there. That's all.
That's the only thing. That's
just hope our luggage makes it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and then let me second what Johnny had said. George, thanks for joining us. You're a great guest, and I had a lot of time. I had a lot of fun talking to you. So
I did
let's do this again down the road. And I really appreciate you doing the show and coming on and sharing all your awesome projects with everybody. And
Cool.
I'm glad you got some more subs out of it, you know?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
You're
so much
welcome.
for having me on. I really appreciate it. Hey, I know the hustle. I know how hard it is to get everybody together and do these cards and do it. So I really appreciate you guys having me on the show and taking that time.
Yeah,
Definitely. And like I said, come back when you have the Kickstarter.
Yes.
We'll help give you a little boost with that. So
appreciate
all right,
that,
guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Once we're back, we'll have a San Diego report, right, Johnny?
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Tune in for that. We'll talk about that, and then we don't know who the guest will be, but possibly was it? I already forgot the name.
Who? Sam.
Sam. Yeah, possibly Sam.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to him, see if I can get him booked.
Cool.
And then that'll be good. So everybody have a great night, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. And have a great week. All right. See you guys later.
Peace.